Welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me today. I'm really glad you're here, because what we're about to talk about may completely change how you look at a simple penny. Most people don't give a second thought to a 1-cent coin. It gets tossed into jars, forgotten in drawers, or spent without hesitation. But today we're stepping into a story where a Liberty 1 cent from 1982 with AD mint mark, a coin that once carried a face value of just 1 cent, has been connected to values reaching as high as $17,000 million under extraordinary circumstances. This isn't just about money. It's about history, chance, mistakes, and the incredible possibilities hidden inside one of the most common objects in American life. The 1982 D. Lincoln penny was born in a very special and complicated moment in United States coinage history. The early 1980s were a time of economic pressure, rising metal prices, and major changes at the U.S. Mint. For decades, Lincoln cents were made primarily of copper, but by 1982, the rising cost of copper forced the Mint to make a historic decision. That year became a transition year, one of the most complex in penny production history. Both copper and zinc-based pennies were produced, multiple mint marks were used, and several varieties were created intentionally. In an environment like that, the possibility for mistakes increased dramatically, and where mistakes occur, rarity and value often follow. To truly understand how a 1982 D. Lincoln penny could be associated with such staggering figures, we have to begin by understanding what gives a coin value beyond its face. A coin's face value is simply what the government assigns to it for circulation. Collector value, on the other hand, is driven by scarcity, demand, condition, and uniqueness. Errors and mistakes transform a mass-produced object into something rare, sometimes even unique. When a coin is not supposed to exist in a certain form, and yet it does, it becomes. Most people barely notice a 1-cent coin. It slips through our hands, disappears into jars, or gets lost between couch cushions. But today we are talking about a Liberty 1 cent from 1990 with AD mint mark, a Lincoln penny that on the surface seems completely ordinary, yet has been surrounded by stories, theories, and extreme possibilities connecting it to values as high as $13,000 million when extraordinary errors, mistakes, and rare mint mark anomalies come into play. This is not just a story about money. It is a story about hidden potential, human error, history, and the strange way rarity can turn something common into something legendary. The 1990 D. Lincoln penny was produced at the Denver Mint during a period of massive coin production. By 1990, the Lincoln cent had already been part of American life for more than 80 years. Its design was familiar, trusted, and largely unchanged in spirit. Lincoln's portrait on the front symbolized unity, strength, and endurance, while the reverse design reflected national ideals and heritage. Millions upon millions of these pennies were struck to keep up with everyday commerce. They were never meant to be special. They were meant to circulate, to be spent, worn down, and eventually forgotten. And yet, history has shown us time and again that even in the most routine systems, extraordinary things can happen. To understand how a 1990 D. Lincoln penny could ever be connected to values so wildly different from its face value, we need to understand how coin value is really created. Face value is assigned by law, but collector value is created by rarity, demand, condition, and uniqueness. A coin becomes valuable not because it was intended to be, but because it ended up being something it was never supposed to be. Errors and mistakes are the key. They represent moments when the highly controlled minting process failed, even if only briefly. Those failures are what collectors chase. The minting process A single cent is usually ignored, overlooked, or dismissed as insignificant. It rattles around in pockets, sits in jars, or gets left behind without a second thought. But today, we are diving deep into the story of a Liberty 1 cent from 2001 with AD mint mark, a Lincoln penny that on the surface appears completely normal, yet has been surrounded by extraordinary theories, collector fascination, and extreme possibilities that push its potential worth as high as $8,000 million under rare and exceptional circumstances. This is a journey into history, mistakes, hidden details, and the powerful idea that even the most common object can carry unimaginable value. The year 2001 sits at a unique point in American history. It was the beginning of a new millennium, a time filled with anticipation, technological growth, and rapid change. The U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity, producing massive quantities of coins to meet everyday demand across the country. The Lincoln cent was still one of the most widely produced and used coins in circulation. The 2001 Lincoln penny, struck at the Denver Mint, was created as part of this enormous output. Millions upon millions of these pennies were minted, distributed, and spent. They were never intended to be rare, special, or collectible. They were designed to function, to move through the economy, and to wear down over time. And yet, it is precisely within such large-scale production that rare mistakes can occur. To understand how a 2001 Lincoln penny could ever be associated with a value so vastly different from its face value, we need to understand what truly creates value in the world of coin collecting. Face value is simply a legal denomination. Collector value is something entirely different. It is shaped by rarity, demand, condition, historical significance, and uniqueness. Errors and mistakes are often the catalyst that transforms an ordinary coin into something extraordinary.